Welcome. Hope the audio's all right. Yeah, it should be cool. So, welcome to F1 Monaco. I know it's a few days late, but we're doing it now. We're going to be talking about the weekend. Listen, before I start talking about this race, before I start getting into the details of the race, I told you, man, years ago. I said Monaco is a bore fest. Monaco. The only way that they're going to make Monaco interesting if they make the cars smaller. There's rumors that the cars are going to be smaller next season, a little bit and a little bit lighter, and then when the new regulations kick in, 2026, the cars are going to be a bit smaller. But I don't think that's going to make much of a difference because if you go back and watch the Monaco from the 90s when Ayrton Senna was driving with Mansell, you could see those cars were a lot smaller than these cars, and again, there weren't many overtakes. So, look, they're not going to change it. We can come out on social media as much as we want. I've been saying this since years and years. I've been calling it out on Twitter for years about this Grand Prix. I'm talking to people about who likes Formula One. Done spaces on it. I've done reviews on it. Look, what it boils down to, they're never going to get rid of Monaco. Monaco is the one that brings in money for them. I'm not saying it's the biggest. For me, Silverstone. Silverstone's the best for me, the main one. But the reason why it's Monaco is because obviously a lot of people at work in the F1 industry, there could be reporters, whatever, staff, whatever. Monaco, obviously, it's financially good for them. So I don't think they're going to get rid of Monaco. No way. There's two races I can say that they'll never get rid of. Spa and Monaco. No, Monaco and Silverstone. So, I know it was a ball fest, but for me, the right man won. So deserved. He waited so long. 3 or 4 poles he's had there. 4 poles, no wins. But he got a win this time. That's Charles Leclerc. So I'm going to bring in my colleague, who's my partner in crime today. He's not on the camera today. He's just doing audio. My partner in crime, Toto Hammer. How you doing, bro?
Yeah, man, I'm doing all right. I'm just feeling a bit, under the weather today. But
All right,
yeah, still gonna get committed to the video. But I'm feeling good.
Yeah. So Toto Hammer. If you don't know him, go subscribe. This is his channel as well. This is Keep It Sports. So it's me, Solo P1, and Toto Hammer. So we're gonna get into this now. For me, Charles Leclerc, the right man, won. It was a long time coming. I thought it was never going to come, to be fair. You know, when you get these tracks where you got certain drivers that just can't win, it's just like the jinx. And this was becoming jinx for Charles Leclerc because what made this race so special, I think he's the first Monegasque driver. Going from Monaco, was born Monaco, born and bred Monaco. It's the first driver, I think, in about nearly 100 years who's won this race, the Monaco Grand Prix. So it was special for him. And for me, it's just cool that another driver is winning the race apart from Max Verstappen. And look, it's not just about Max Verstappen, okay? If Carlos Sainz was winning every single race for the past couple of years, I'd say the same thing. I would say the same thing. But it's nice to see another driver winning a race apart from Max Verstappen. We've had I think Carlos Sainz has won a race this season. So was Lando Norris a few weeks ago, and now we've got Charles Leclerc. So it looks like we're going to have an interesting season. It's not going to be a Red Bull domination, and I'm happy about that. So, what's your thoughts on this, Toto? On the what happened?
Yeah, I think
Bit loud. Can you turn the volume down? Thank you.
Yeah, about the race as a whole was there was literally no point to watch it because the same top 3 who qualified top 3 finished in the same positions in the race. Yeah, I'm turning down a little bit. I don't know what's going on. But look, I think the whole race as a whole, my opinions on the race, it was an absolute snooze fest. You know, there was no pit stops whatsoever. There was a couple of pit stops, but that red flag kind of ruined it all. If you know what I mean? Because after the red flag, everyone gets a free pit stop. Everyone puts on the hard tyres, and then hard tyres can go to the end of the race, basically, because there's no really, because if you get the strategy right on this track, you're on a way for a good race, especially when you finish pole as well. If you've got a good strategy for this track, don't mess up in the pits. It's fine. But as soon as that red flag hit, then everyone pitted. Usually from mediums to hards, because the top 5 all started on mediums, and then they came onto the hard and the red flag, and then the race was just a snooze fest all after that. But look, I'm just happy as a whole that we don't see Red Bull on top as always now. I was just getting sick and tired of Red Bull winning most every race, but now Ferrari's starting to come back. McLaren as well, starting to become a championship winning team. But how it all planned out, I think it planned out well. Leclerc winning, he deserves it, man. You know how long he's been waiting for his first racing at Monaco. He must be buzzing, man, after that win. So yeah, I'm glad that it all played out that way.
Yeah, I was thinking, right, let's turn this down a bit. Yeah, I was thinking that I'm happy for Charles Leclerc. Well deserved, and I hope it's not the last race he wins this season. I think he's going to win many more. We're not even halfway through this season. How many races this season? 23, 24 races this season, and there's a lot of races this season.
About that.
So it's the longest season ever in Formula One, and I'm happy about that. But this weekend we're not going to really get into the technical part of it. We're going to save that for debrief. But just a briefing over, we're going to talk about Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes now. Lewis Hamilton, remember, was running an older wing. George had the newer wing during the practice session, and George was complaining about the vibration coming from his car. That was during practice 1 and practice 2, but they rectified that in the qualifying, hence why George out-qualified Lewis Hamilton again. But talking about the out-qualifying Russell out-qualifying Lewis Hamilton, I'm not sure you probably heard of it now because it's been a while. What is your opinion on what Lewis Hamilton said to the reporters? And he said George Russell's going to out-qualify him this season every single race. And he said, look, he's on the way out. He knows how it goes. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think like Lewis Hamilton obviously knows something that we don't know, but what's your thoughts of a driver actually saying that? I can't, to my knowledge, I don't remember a driver actually say that my teammate's going to out-qualify me every race this season. I'm not sure if he's playing mind games, I don't know, but what's your thoughts on it, Toto?
I think at this point of time, he knows how good Ferrari is. You know how good Ferrari is.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about George Russell.
Yeah, I know, but what he says in the interview, I think is at this point of time that, you know, he might be trying to throw Mercedes under the bus. We don't know, because he knows in his heart that they are giving Russell the fastest car. They're giving him all the upgrades. So him saying that in the interview, it seems like he doesn't care anymore, really, as of course going to Ferrari next season and how good Ferrari is doing now. I bet he can't wait to leave the team, really. You know, so him saying that means
you think he's playing that psychological game, trying to throw off Mercedes, mate. That's the impression I was getting the way I looked at it, that he was trying to play that psychological game with George Russell. Obviously, George Russell is going to be more clued up about the car going forward, because we know when the driver's on the way out, the guy what's staying there, he gets digs at everything. He gets everything. But what was weird for me is like this season, we've seen that similar pattern. We're seeing that practice 1 and 2, Lewis is killing it. And as soon as he gets to practice 3 and qualifying, George Russell's just out qualifying him. And that's why Lewis is a bit baffled. And that's why, look, for Lewis Hamilton to come out and say that, he believes that George Russell is going to out qualify him, obviously there's a problem with Mercedes regarding his engineers or with the team. I don't know if it's coming from Toto. I'm not sure. I'm just speculating at this point. But that's going to be an interesting dynamic between the two, George Russell and Lewis Hamilton going forward. Imagine if them two are both neck and neck going into a corner. Say, for instance, Spa, when the first corner in Spa, you know, when they go over the up the Rouge and they go straight down. Imagine if them two are going and wheel to wheel. That would be an interesting outcome to see what happens between those two. Because as the season progresses between those two, there's going to be a lot of frustration. There's going to be a lot of Well, I want to finish higher than you. I want to go out on top when I leave this team. You know what I'm saying? And then you got George Russell. He probably thinking, look, I'm the guy here now. Before you leave, I want to beat you in the same car because we might not get that opportunity again, both in equal cars. But are the equal cars?
No, nowhere near. Nowhere near. Because in the practice session, like you mentioned now, like last race, practice 1 he got first, practice 2 he got second, and practice 3 he got third. He got first, second, third across all 3 practice sessions. But usually when it comes to qualifying, in my eyes, I think Mercedes are purposely turning the car down because he's the one who's leaving this season to go to Ferrari. And Mercedes, I think, I don't see a point, turning up Hamilton's car. So they are favouring George Russell more of a way.
Yeah, it looks like that.
Maybe. So I think Mercedes is purposely turning his car down. And I just think that Hamilton can offer so much more on that track. It's just because Mercedes is limiting him, in my opinion. So that's how I see it overall.
Yeah. So I understand. So the next one we're going to go into, we're going to be talking about Magnussen and Checo and Nico Hülkenberg. So Magnussen takes out Checo and Nico Hülkenberg. So Magnussen, a menace. He was a menace at the last race. I know that he got a warning, black and white flag. If he hits someone again or takes somebody out again, he's going to be banned for a race. There's so much points on his license. What baffled me about this situation, obviously Magnussen took out Nico Hülkenberg, his old teammate, took out Checo, ruined Checo's race. I never did you know if he got a penalty? Because after the race, I never heard nothing about him getting a penalty or anything about him getting banned. Because the last race, they said to him, if you do anything like that again, cause damage to a car or take someone out, you're going to be on a race ban. I never heard nothing about no race ban, unless you heard something. Because
nothing happened. Sky Sports reported after the race that Magnussen is penalty free, gets no penalty, nothing even on the penalty license points. So no penalty between those two. But I want to comment on the start of the race in Monaco. It was an absolute horrific start of the race. It's one of the reasons why I would take it off the calendar. Three wide going into the first straight after turn 1 into turn 2. There's no way that even Hülkenberg tried to avoid the collision. It never happened because the space was too tight for him. There's too much debris on the track for him to go through. But that Magnussen and Perez incident, it's hard to say whose fault it was. You could also say it could be Perez's fault because Perez was looking at his mirrors and he knew Magnussen was there, but he turned into Magnussen, which caused that crash. So you could argue that Magnussen should have pulled out because it was Perez's line. We don't know, right? And the best thing to put it on is a racing incident. For me, if I was going to say something about it, I'll say it was mostly Perez's fault, in my opinion, because he knew Magnussen was there. He should have created more space for Magnussen. That's what he should have done. Instead, what he did, he turned into Magnussen, and that's what caused that red flag in the first lap of the race. So there's going to be lots of different sides to the story, and I think that's why the FOI just put it as a normal race incident. None of the drivers get penalties. So I think the only one who got a penalty in the start of the race, I think it was after the red flag actually, was Esteban Ocon. But talking about his Magnussen and Perez thing, if I was going to put the blame towards someone, it would be Perez because he knew Magnussen was there. But again, you can also say it's a race incident because both drivers went for the line, and it's Monaco at the end of the day. You can't really do nothing in that tight space.
Exactly. It's not like you can navigate your way out of it. Once 3 cars do not fit in the corner, 2 cars don't even fit in the corner. So 3, there's going to be a disaster. So on to the next one. Regarding Sainz, that was kind of the same thing. He kind of navigated his way out of it just into the runoff area. His car just suddenly, I think his car was, I'm not sure if it was damaged or something. I know there was something with his car. And then obviously when that red flag come out, the red flag, that was perfect for Sainz because when he come in and got his car sorted, and then when the race restarted, he was back in the race. So that was good luck for Sainz. Because I do like Sainz. It was a shame if Sainz, Sainz would have, if the race would have continued under the safety car, that would have been a Science's race over, but he got it sorted during the red flag. So next one, the 4 drivers were out with Ocon. He got suspected of suspension damage. Magnussen, Nico, and Perez. That was at the beginning. Basically, not long when the race continued, the race just restarted, or just before it got started. Lewis said on the radio, I told you. He said this to Bono, and he was referring to the start at the beginning. He said that we should have put the hard tires on, not the medium tires, because if we would have put the hard tires on, I think he would have stayed. He would have stayed on the medium. It would have been only one strategy, because obviously, if it's a one stop, everybody was coming in when the red flag come out. Everybody was coming in and changing the tires, isn't it? Everybody was coming and changing the tires, and he was saying that we should have started on the hard tires because it's Monaco, and they said they wanted the medium tires. So again, Mercedes getting the strategy kind of wrong again. So look, at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's Monaco, but overall, I thought it was a decent race. The beginning was a bit of a debacle. You're going to get that at Monaco. But overall, I thought it was a decent race. I'm not going to go into detail on the race now. We're going to do that on the debrief. But overall, the weekend for me, I think the qualifying was okay. And for me, I'm so happy that Charles Leclerc won this race. I think he deserves it. And I want him to continue to win races, as well as Sainz, as well as Lando Norris. I want to see people winning races apart from Red Bull all the time. And I do believe this is the turning point. I think the turning point was about a month ago when Lando Norris was getting involved with Red Bull and Max Verstappen. You can see it now. The commentators are saying it. The analysis is saying it. The detail, the engineers are saying it. Even the team principal is saying it, of McLaren, coming out and saying that as long as we keep getting these upgrades, as long as we keep bringing these upgrades, the fight is on for the world title. Yeah. That's what we want to hear. This is what the fans want to hear. And even Mercedes can get involved. Not saying Mercedes is going to win this world title, but if they get their upgrades there, they can get involved, taking points off Red Bull as well. So that's going to be it's going to be something like 2013 again, or 2012, when you had about 3 or 4 teams fighting for the world title. That's what we want to see.
I think the turnaround race. For me was Australia. Australia was a turnaround race for me.
Who won Australia again?
Slow. Now, Max. I think Max won. No, Max didn't win Australia. I don't think. No, Max won Australia.
It was just then it.
Yeah, exactly. I think
that's when Finger was chasing him, and it was that when Lando was chasing him, innit?
Nah, Sainz was chasing him.
That's it. Yeah. That was
that race.
You could see it coming slowly, innit?
Yeah. And in that race, we all knew, and I think the team started to know that Red Bull could be bad in dirty air, because
who won Australia? Let me see who won the races. I don't remember. Seems ages ago. Who won Australia?
Max won Australia because but Sainz would have passed him because Sainz was right behind him, and
there was one where the dirty and that's when we found out. That's when we realized if you can get in front of him, if you can get in front of the Red Bull car, they're not good at chasing. They're not good in dirty air. I remember.
Yeah, because Max was, even though was still in front, he weren't gaining away by a huge amount, and he was in dirty air with Sainz as well. So he was struggling with Sainz to pass him, and I think that was a turnaround race for me. But of course, Leclerc closing down on Max Verstappen in that championship. Sergio Perez losing a lot of points to Max, especially having this DNF. He's lost a lot of points this season so far. He's having a terrible season. But yeah, man, I'm just glad to see another winner, and McLaren as well getting up there.
Sainz won the race in Australia. Sainz won it because I think Max had a DNF in it.
Yeah, Sainz, because that's Sainz and Verstappen battle. I think
Verstappen had a DNF. He didn't finish.
Yeah, because.
I remember now. That was it. Yeah, because that's I remember. Well, his Sainz was chasing him. He was at the beginning, wasn't it? It was at the beginning, and this is before Max Verstappen got damaged with his car. Sainz was following Max Verstappen, and I remember the first couple of laps, Max's car was fine. There was no complaint from Max Verstappen. There was no usual radio messages over the radio where he's completely rude to his engineer like he does on a weekly basis. It wasn't that. It was basically it was Sainz. Usually with the Red Bull, the first couple of races of the season, they just pull away But this race, they didn't pull away. Sainz was on him all the time, and he was chasing him and chasing him. And that's when we all started to realize as fans, hold on, there's something here. Maybe Ferrari's got the car to potentially beat Red Bull. And I remember Sainz passed him fairly. He took him down on the outside. He took him, and it was about 2 or 3 laps later. That's when Max Verstappen's car started to play up. But until then, they were both equal cars. But because Ferrari had the good upgrade, they passed Max Verstappen fairly. I remember watching it, yeah. But I realized then, as I remember us talking about this, but I also started to even believe even more when Thingy was chasing him and beat him. What's his name? Lando Norris. Even more, because we thought it was just going to be Ferrari, and then all of a sudden another car popped out. Who was it? McLaren. So we got 2 cars now against the Red Bull, and that's what made it exciting. So we knew Ferrari was there after Australia when Sainz won. But when Lando Norris started to push on, like Miami and all that, we knew there was a next team. All we need now is Mercedes to try and join the party. We know Mercedes is not going to win the Constructors. We know Lewis and George are not going to win the world title, but they can get in the mix, you get me? They can get in there and take points off other teams and make it interesting again, the way it was in 2012 and 2013. But again, it is what it is. It's Formula One. Can't wait for the next race. The next race, I think it's going to be, I don't know where the next race is now. When is the next race, also? Do you know when the next race is? I think it's
and it Canada. I don't think it's
Canada.
Canada.
That's it.
Canada. Yeah.
We're in Canada, and one of Lewis's diamond tracks. He's won that. I think he's won it the most. Always equal to Michael Schumacher the amount of times he's won it. The Wall of Champions, Canadian track. We both love that track. It's a cross between an old school circuit and a street circuit, kind of in the middle of it. It's a very good track, and that's going to favour probably Mercedes, and that will probably favour McLaren as well. The way their car is good in the slow speed corners. That track will actually suit McLaren and Ferrari as well. So it's going to be an interesting race. So this is me signing out. How are you, Todd? You got anything to say before we leave? Because it is late.
No, I'm going to say catch up my channel later. Podcast with Ty Cuthbert will be on later. Getting the Toe podcast. We're going to be talking about lots of stuff because sim racing and of course this Formula One race, Monaco. So yeah, keep an eye for that.
Yeah, big up to man. So big up to everybody. Remember, smash the like button, hit the like, hit the subscribe. If you're watching on X, big up. If you're not, come onto YouTube and smash that like button. All we ask for is the like. It's free. Doesn't cost much. It is free. So big up to everybody. See you later, guys. Good night, good morning, good afternoon. Boy.